Well, right now we are awaiting some major news from the FDA as it's expected to greenlight a first-of-its-kind drug for Alzheimer's disease. Data shows lecanemab, whose trade name is Leqembi, can slow down cognitive decline in its early stages. Now, we want to talk about how game-changing this could potentially be.
Yeah, so joining us now is Dr. James Leverenz with the Lou Ruvo Center for Brain Health at the Cleveland Clinic. Also, we serve on the board together for the Alzheimer's Association, so we're so happy to have you here to talk about this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Lecanemab. We've been talking about it a lot. What is this drug? How does it work?
Well, it's a drug that's made to attack one of the proteins we know is very important in Alzheimer's called amyloid. A lot of people may have heard about amyloid in Alzheimer's disease. There's been a theory that it is the initiating component of the disease and that getting rid of it would help. And now we have one drug that seems to get rid of it, and we have proof that it seems to be slowing the disease progression.
Wow, and looking at this drug, you know, it feels like this is the first of its kind, but what have we looked at in the past? Have we had something similar to this before?
There was a medication last year that got accelerated approval but not full approval called aducanumab, and there have been other drugs before. I think one of the issues previously, we didn't know how to make a diagnosis early and accurately, and we're getting much better at doing that now. And with these new methods, and then with these studies we're seeing, we're actually having an impact on disease.
You know, Alzheimer's affects so many people, and in the association we always talk about the white flower, which is the flower that no one's had yet, because that means you're a survivor. Do you think that we are well on our way? Granted, this is not a cure. Do you think we're on our way to finding that first survivor? I mean, what are your thoughts about it?
Well,
hard to say.
Hard to say.
Sure.
I think that it is the first foray into how we slow the disease down. I think identifying people very early, which is something the Alzheimer's Association wants to really support, will allow us to intervene at a very early stage. I think we would all like to have minor memory issues and stick with that for several years. So it's that first foray into really treating the disease itself, and so it's very exciting from that perspective.
Sure.
Yeah, and what you were saying there with slowing it down, I think when people think of, you know, a new medicine or drug, a lot of times they think, oh, this will get rid of all the symptoms, or this will bring me back to how I was before I experienced this. But we understand that's not necessarily the case with this.
That's correct. I think we're starting to look at similar types of drugs that may allow us to identify people even before they have any symptoms, but we know the disease is kind of trickling along early on in the brain, and that we may be able to intervene at that point. Those are future studies that we're already working on. So that's our hope.
Okay.
You know, I've talked to several people who have been involved in the trial, also those who have lost loved ones who said, man, I wish this was around earlier. Why does something like this take so long?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. As I said earlier, very hard to identify. Some of the early studies we realized ultimately when people came to autopsy and we looked at their brains, they didn't actually have Alzheimer's. They had other processes that gave them very similar symptoms. With these new diagnostic tests, we can really identify who really has Alzheimer's, and that's allowed us to get to this point where we have a medication that really makes a difference.
Which could provide some hope for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And we're still waiting.
We are still waiting.
You don't have any insight, right, for this FDA approval?
No, I keep checking like everybody else. Are you checking now?
I'm refreshing right now, and still nothing yet.
Doctor,
maybe 5 o'clock, I don't know.
Maybe 5 o'clock on the dot.
All right.
It'll hopefully be breaking news right then.
Absolutely.
Doctor,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.